What is going on, everybody? Seth here from OKE, and today we are going to talk about the state of gaming. I'm going to jump on the soapbox here for this one because it's not, in my estimation, I don't want to say it's negative, but I don't really think it's a positive outlook. So one of the first things I want to talk about, I actually heard this, I've heard this phrase a couple times within the last 2 weeks, I want to say. And it effectively is saying, if you are starting development on a game right now, you are making it for the PlayStation 6. Ideally, effectively, what they're saying is, you're not stupid. If you're starting development now, you're not developing a game for this console generation. I think that is absolutely asinine. Console generations, they're not a bad thing, but maybe I'm old school. Maybe it's my TV. Maybe I'm weird, but I still really don't get the PS5 Series X updates in terms of the games. There are some advantages. The load times are a lot better now. But I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't feel like in any way, shape, or form anybody needs to be thinking about the next console generation right now. The next console generation, I think, will be made just to make it. And I really have been saying that about the PlayStation 5 Series X generation. It seems like it's cash grabby, and honestly, there hasn't been enough forward movement in what a game is and does, in my estimation, to warrant a new generation. If you look at the differences between the PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 2 to the 3 to the 4, you can pretty easily go, that's an insert game from this era. And the same could be said to an extent for the Xbox, the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One. You could say that about Nintendo to a degree, but they've always kind of marched to their own beat. But to say that if you're starting development on a game, I would assume, a AAA game, and you're developing for the next generation, is ridiculous. There is no reason that these console generations should be this compact. But I don't want to rant too much on that. I'm going to pitch it over to Ricky as well, see if he'll maybe throw a video up kind of talking about this subject as well. But the next one I want to get into, there's a bit more meat to it, if you will. It's not just me ranting on a saying that I heard. If you have been following the gaming news of any form, which not everybody does, which is fine, the CEO of Warner Brothers Media effectively wants to monetize everything. They want their games to go live service. This also goes into the pricing rumors of what Grand Theft Auto 6 might be looking like. Is it going to be just a subscription-based thing where you just pay a monthly subscription to play the game? Or I know there's been talk of, hey, maybe a game should be priced based on how long it takes to develop and how much playtime is in the game. That might not be bad if you're getting games that are 30, 40 hours long. But I'm back on the soapbox. Gaming it's gone from a hobby to a profession. Obviously, I'm sitting here talking about video game content. You have professional video game players, people who do YouTube and Twitch, and the other places where you can do your video game content. That's what they do for a living, which is cool. I'm not dogging that. But because video games have transitioned from hobby to profession, it has become more and more monetized. It's slowly getting to a point where I think the video game industry is beginning to fold on itself a bit. Look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Rocksteady is an amazing development team. The Batman Arkham series is considered one of the pinnacles of what superhero games should play like, look like, and be. I don't disagree with that. The Batman Arkham series is probably one of my favorite game series. I'd probably top 15 it, maybe top 10 it. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is the latest, not last, it might be the last, is the latest game in that lineage. And it's not looking good, guys. It's a live service. Marvel's Avengers was a live service game and didn't do great. I think these big decision makers are looking at the industry and going, where can we make money on this? Not necessarily where's the line, but where can we make money? They're not looking at going, okay, this is where the consumer is going to stop. They're just pushing it. And for better or worse, and I would say worse, I think that's going to break people away from the industry. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is another great example of this. It had no business being released as a full game. It is clear and evident that that was supposed to be some form of DLC for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Now, I'm not begrudging the development team behind that, who have stood firm in the idea that this was a passion project. If this was a passion project, you need to redefine what your passion is, because that game is bad. And the fact that people are just going, well, that's Call of Duty. I remember when Call of Duty took over. Medal of Honor was the shooting game of choice for a long time, and it got stale. Call of Duty came along and kind of started to rock that boat. Modern Warfare, the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare, absolutely changed the game in terms of what a first-person shooter and a war-style game should be. So the fact that we're now in this weird cycle that Call of Duty in of itself has grown stale, repetitive, it's not making the waves and the necessary moves to, in my estimate, stay as relevant as it should. It is frightening that Call of Duty, as a franchise, is too big to fail. And yet, man, if it's not failing, it is dangerously close, because Modern Warfare 3 is an absolute dumpster fire. I know dumpster fire is too strong of a word. It's a solid game, but it's obvious that it wasn't meant to be the game. Last year there was heavy talk after Modern Warfare 2 that we're going to take a break. We're not going to do a yearly release for Call of Duty. I was for that. At the time, if you watch our other video where Ricky and I kind of get angry about everything, we talk about briefly how we both worked at GameStop. So I worked in the video game industry at GameStop. That's a soft pick for a different day, but I was okay from a consumer standpoint going, Call of Duty needs to take a year off. I think Madden should take a year off, at least a year. WWE, the 2K20 game, absolute dumpster fire. I'm not going to say that 2K22 was revolutionary, but if you compare the downward quality leading to WWE 2K20, WWE 2K22 is a breath of fresh air. It was a good game. These yearly release cycles that video games are in are detrimental to, I would think, the overall industry. Due to the cost of development, I think the era that the PlayStation 2 was so prevalent for, where you could develop a game and throw something out, be it good, bad, indifferent, or great, we don't get that anymore. We don't get the push for innovation due to the cost. And that's a twofold issue. People are not necessarily willing to spend a bunch of money on an unproven game anymore. At least not like they were. Developers aren't willing to develop these untrustworthy games because we don't know if they're going to sell. So my concern is that as we venture forward and we go into the 2024 and 2025, that the idea of a new fresh property is just falling by the wayside. This year was good for games, but it's telling to me that in this year we had the Metroid Prime remastered, we have Dead Space remastered, we had Persona 3 get remastered, we had Resident Evil 4's remaster, which is part of a great legacy of remasters that Capcom have been doing. But where's the innovation? Where's the desire to make a new property all the time? I get relying and going back going, man, Monster Hunter's doing great. We should totally do another. Resident Evil's doing great. We should totally do another. And that one that everyone liked, we should do it again. But I feel like the industry is in a bit of a stalemate where the cost of producing a new exciting title is making developers think twice about these larger, grander, games that could be getting that major push, and they're not. The indie scene in terms of development is still doing well. Sons of the Forest came out. That's a okay game. It's not great. It's got some issues, but I enjoyed what I played of it. I don't think I've talked to a whole lot of people that didn't like it to some degree. Hades 2 coming out next year. That's an indie developer. So I'm not going to stand around and say that, innovation is dead and gloom and doom. Excuse me. But it would be foolish to say that the gaming industry that I grew up in, the SNES, the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, and the Nintendo 64, that era of innovation, I think it's gone. And I think part of that, wrapping it back around the initial statement, is due to the monetization issues. It's all about how can we get more money from the consumer. Thank God Baldur's Gate 3 happened this year, because it is proof that a really solid game can come out. It doesn't need to be monetized to death, and it can be a fantastic game. And I know in our awards, I'm personally pulling for Baldur's Gate 3 to win. I am pulling for Baldur's Gate 3 to win every single game of the year it possibly can, to prove that point. You don't need a microtransaction heavy. You don't need a cycle that predatorizes your consumer. So I don't want to rant and rave too much more on that. Guys, make sure, give me your thoughts on this. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I wanted to throw my thoughts on these out there. Like I said, I'm going to pitch both of these to Ricky. We're either going to do a full sit-down episode together. Maybe he'll do a short form like this as well on these topics. But, guys, I have been Seth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!